Well, that's right. I've been snooping through Mr. Howard's journal. Oh, don't pretend you ain't never done it. There's something we can't resist about reading another fella's private thoughts. That's another one of the joys of being a servant. I know things about the Admiral that his wife won't never know. Then there's all the gossip downstairs about who's sleeping with who. Not much here, though. Lord, leave me not to my own wisdom, which is folly, nor to my own strength, which is weakness, dull as a Sunday morning sermon, I'd say. Oh, and here's another. I think I never look into myself, lest I find some corruption and sin in my heart. O God, do thou sanctify and cleanse the thoughts of my depraved heart. You know, it seems to me that them folks that do the most worrying about their sins is usually those that ain't never spent much time sinning. I do wonder who this Jack is he keeps writing about. He's a bit of a blackguard, whoever he might be.
Oh, I'm sorry to disturb you, dear, but he seems much worse today.
He's dying, I'm afraid. Do you know that Potemkin sent his own personal physician? He wasn't much help. He said we should let the fever run its course. I don't care much for letting nature run its course. Sounds like we're flying the white flag and the battle hasn't even begun.
Some things cannot be fought, Henry. Sometimes we just have to accept God's will.
Well, God's will. Sounds like another way of flying the white flag. We're supposed to pray for the sick, but when they die, it's God's will. Sounds like a nice way of saying we don't know why things happen.
It's more than that, Henry. It's believing things that happen for a reason. When I was a little girl, I didn't know that I would meet you, but I believe God did. And I didn't know that because I met you and fell in love with you that I would one day be living in Russia. But from the moment I said I do, I put my life into your hands. I trusted you enough to follow you here to this place far away from my home. And in the very same way, I trust God enough to follow him and to believe that he wants what's best for me. And in the end, I know he will welcome me there to my eternal home.
You sound just like Howard. He talked about his death as calmly as though he were going to a friend's house.
Well, no one could be more ready for death than Mr. Howard.
Do you think so? I don't think anyone's ready for death.
Well, I meant it in a divine sense.
Death in the divine sense? Is there really anything divine about death? When we give up this body, what's left? I don't fancy wander around like a ghost. The spirit seems like such a bit of fluff to me. I try to imagine heaven sometimes. But I don't much think I'd trade an afternoon in the park for it.
When it comes to that, I don't think it's about trading one thing for the other. I, for one, believe there's something much more than this life.
Isn't this life enough?
Well, maybe for you. You've lived a long and happy life. What about Katerina? Her time was over long before she had ever really begun to live.
You've got me there. Nothing as bad as the funeral of a child. And her mother and father were not there to be with her.
Poor Katerina. She never even got to wear that beautiful special dress for St. Tatiana's Day.
Katerina, is that you?
Yes, it was a fool's errand to send him to see her. I told him not to leave that morning, but he insisted on going.
And if he had saved her, would it have been all right then?
I suppose so.
Well, that's just it, Henry. When you believe, you don't have to wait to see how things are going to turn out. You just do what is right and leave the rest to God.
Admiral, have you written to Gutrid?
Yes, just as you instructed.
And I'm to be buried here.
We needn't think about that quite yet.
Now, I've seen the face of death often enough that I know when my time has come.
Would you
It's
like
a relief, really.
Would you like for me to call a priest?
No, thank you, but in my religion, I don't need someone else to pray for me. My soul is already in God's hands.
As you will.
Admiral, I want no pomp and circumstance at my funeral. I just lived simply all my life, and I want to die that way as well. And there's to be no talk of monuments or markers either. I tried that when I was alive, and I told them I'd none of it. Half the statues in London are of rogues and thieves.
All the more to remember our good men.
I don't believe there are any good men, just sinners saved by grace.
You know, John, I begin to think you don't want to be remembered.
And you'd be right, Admiral.
I've never met anyone so determined to be forgotten.
It's not false humility, Admiral. There's much about my life I'd rather have forgotten.
Well, that must be true for us all. But who would be buried in an unmarked grave?
Well, if there must be a marker, let it be a sundial.
Tempest Fugitidae.
Precisely. Let a man measure his days that he may get a heart of wisdom. I mean it, Admiral. Speak no fuss about my death.
Well, I'll convey your wishes, but once we're gone, we don't have much control over those sort of things. And people will have their heroes.
I would be laid to rest in that little park near Dauphiny. It's so peaceful there. It reminds me much of home. Admiral, why don't you go lie down? You can do me no more good, and I'll rest easier knowing that you're not at risk for my infection.
If you insist, Maria from time to time will come in and check upon you. I cannot tell you how distraught she's been since you became ill.
Oh, she is kindness itself.
You must know that she bears the responsibility in her own mind for your condition. It was she who urged you to go see that little girl.
I never thought it. You must convince her otherwise. These things are really all in God's hands.
So she says, again and again. I only hope she believes it.
Mr. Howard?
What is it, dear?
Mr. Howard? Look at me! Is it not the most beautiful thing you've ever seen?
I can't believe my eyes. Is it you, Katerina?
What? Were you expecting someone else?
I don't know what I was expecting, but... So this is it?
Yes, this is it.
Well, it's just that it just doesn't look like, or seem so much like...
Like heaven? It's funny, you should have difficulty saying the word. You talked about it all the time while you were living.
Then it was all so far away, like the stars of the setting sun, but this is just so ordinary.
But why should it be so different here? Did you think God was trying to punish us on earth?
No, I didn't think that. I just thought it would be different.
Give it some time. You'll discover what's different soon enough.
Monta, could I see Henrietta?
You're not quite ready for that yet. Just like what you said about being a child. It will take you some time to become that child again.
What do you mean?
Look around. What do you see?
Well, it looks a lot like home. I recognize that little hill over there. I spent many a fine hour beneath the shade of those trees. Only...
What?
Oh no, it's too ridiculous.
Don't be afraid.
Well, it appears as though there are oranges on some of those trees.
What else?
Well, there's a delicate scent in the air. Jasmine, I think. And I hear music. It's the song I used to sing when I was a boy, working in the market. I don't understand, Katerina. Are you here, or is this place just for me? How does it work?
It's difficult to explain. Let me just say that the old rules don't work here. There's no such thing as time or place. No today, no yesterday. Yes, I can see your oranges, and I can smell your jasmine, but only because I choose to be with you, and those things are part of you.
How long must I wait to see Henrietta?
A little while, when you're ready.
But I thought you said there were no rules here.
No, I didn't say that. I said the old rules don't apply.
And what did you mean when you said, I'm not ready?
You see, it's not. Here, we all live the way. You'll feel it soon enough. Did you ever walk past a house on a cold day and see the glow of a warm fire and know that there was friendship and good cheer to be had inside? And no one tells you to go in, but you find yourself drawn in that direction. That's what we mean, by the way. It's not the place that's so different, it's us. We have to become our truer selves.
I don't understand.
It's difficult to explain. It's like waiting for the fog to lift, or for an old wound to heal.
I do feel different.
Yes?
I don't know. Younger, happier. I don't feel like I need to be somewhere else. I'm just happy being who I am, where I am.
No one ever thinks heaven will be fun. I don't mean glorious or sanctimonious. Just mean fun, but that's all it is.
But I'm not quite up to the mark yet. I'm missing something, aren't I?
There is one thing, but I know you can do it.
What is it?
You see, we have to be totally honest here.
Have I not been honest?
Not totally. Not with me. Not with yourself. It's your son, Mr. Howard. He isn't dead, is he?
He's been dead to me for many years, but yes, my son still breathes.
But why did you lie to me about him? What difference could it have possibly made if you had told me the truth?
It was just too painful. But here's the whole truth. Henrietta, my wife, she was so beautiful, so kind. I don't think I ever really felt worthy of her. One time, I suggested her that we go on a trip to celebrate our anniversary. She said, "Oh, John, that's so kind and generous of you, but couldn't we do something for our tenants instead?" So, we put the money towards some improvements on our tenants' cottages. It always made her so happy to make other people happy and to help them.
You must have loved her very much.
Oh, more than life itself. She was always of a fragile nature. When I would lie down to sleep next to her, I could hear the shortness of her breath. It hurt me so to hear her breathing that way. So we moved to the coast for a short while to see if it would help improve her lungs, but she missed her family, so we moved back to our home near Bedford.
And then, the baby?
Yes. Of course, we were both ecstatic about the idea of having a child, but secretly I worried. It was a difficult pregnancy, but then Jack came into the world, and Henrietta seemed to have gotten past her ordeal, and it seemed to me as though happiness was just within our grasp. And then, before I really knew how sick she was gone. I cannot tell you how that crushed me inside. If there'd been someone to talk to, someone to tell how I was feeling, but there was no one.
And then there was the question of what to do with Jack.
Yes. What to do with Jack. I tried to love him, really I did. The nanny would bring him down to me in the morning, and all I could see were her eyes and the curl of her lip. It was just too much for me. I kept my distance. I did what was right for him and provided him with all his needs, but there was never any affection in our relationship. I treated him as my ward, not my child.
You told a friend once that you expected absolute obedience from your son. That if you asked him to put his hand in a candle flame, he would do it without hesitation.
You may blame me for this. I deserve every reproach. I was cold and unfeeling. I thought I could mold him into a man if I could just make him obedient to my commands. But now I know that without affection, obedience is just a dull, hollow thing.
I haven't come to blame you, Mr. Howard. You've punished yourself enough. You're like a man who beats himself with a whip so he does not feel the pain inside. What you need is forgiveness.
But from where? Certainly not from Jack. He sits in an asylum, a stranger to his own mind. If I could go to him now, he would no more know me than the King of England.
It's you that must forgive, Mr. Howard. You must forgive yourself.
But how? I can't pretend that what I did was right. What's more, I know that it was wrong and I did nothing about it. I'm in a prison of my own mind.
The door is open, Mr. Howard.
And if I do not feel worthy of going through, if I cling to my cold, lonely prison cell,
then I will sit with you until you are ready to come out into the light. Do you see the lily pads?
Yes, I suppose.
You can walk on them, you know.
Walk on them.
Let me show you.
It really is preposterous, you know.
I think it's marvelously fun.
It really makes no difference if we walk on the pads or the water, does it?
No, but I like to pretend it does.
How does it work? How long did it take you to learn the trick of the place?
You mean the science of it? I think we're much lighter than we used to be.
Oh, I just remember how you thought that you would miss carriage rides and pucks and strawberries with cream and ball gowns and dancing.
It all seems so silly to think of it that way now. It's like being afraid that you will forget your umbrella when there's never any rain. And even if there is rain, you find that now you'd rather walk in it than hide under your umbrella.
Katerina, do you think
You can say it.
Do you think I could learn to love Jack here?
That's just it, John.
You think we ought to go in?
Someone is coming. I think we'd better go.
He's gone, isn't he? Oh. He's so far away from his home. What's to be done?
He said he wanted to be buried here. I don't think there's anyone for him to go home to. He said he wanted to be laid to rest in that little field near Daphne that belongs to Constantius. I'm sure the Count will oblige. You know, he was quite a favorite of the Empress. She admired all the hard work he had done, the prisoner's friend, and all that. I'm sure Potemkin will want to give him a full state burial.
I'm surprised he wanted all the pomp and ceremony.
Well, he didn't. We could have dropped him in a pauper's grave as far as he was concerned. But it's not as though the funeral is for him. We hold funerals for our own comforts. He won't be embarrassed by anything we do.
Did you like him, Henry?
No, I suppose I didn't. I like a person who loves to hunt, who likes a hot slice of meat on the grill, and who enjoys a game of whist and a glass of port. No, I found John Howard a bit tiresome. So taken he was with helping his fellow man that he never enjoyed anyone. He was by everyone admired, but by no one loved.
Well, that's a harsh judgment.
Ask me no questions and I'll tell thee no lies. I must say though, I was one of his admirers. He once told me that he traveled over 40,000 miles in his life, and most of that on horseback. But the sad thing is, I don't think he changed anything. As far as I can tell, the conditions and the prisons and hospitals are as bad as they've ever been.
Perhaps. But I think he tried to make people feel responsible for that. That a country should be measured not for its great monuments and public works, but by the way it treats the weakest among us. And I like to think we never will know where our influence will end. Why, perhaps 100 years or 200 years from now, someone will still be trying to make prisons more like what Mr. Howard thought they could be.
It's not enough that Parliament is full of reformers. I've got one here in my own home. Well, perhaps you're right. Maybe he did start something here.
He looks quite at peace.
Yes, I believe you're right, dear. No one was ever more ready to die.
What sort of a play is it that ends with a man dying? I prefer to musicals myself, you know, a full tankard, jaunty tune, chorus girls dancing gaily, if you please. Why, a gentleman of Howard's means would spend his life tramping about through jails and hospitals, writing his little reports, is more than I can understand. But to be honest, there is always a moment when the music stops, and the pub is closed, and I'm left alone with just me little dark thoughts. I like to think I've done something worthwhile on this earth. You know, no John Howard, mind you. Just a few acts of kindness might be remembered by those who knew me best. And when I look on him, I'm almost convinced there is something to what the preachers say. A world beyond this place that is a better home. If so, God, I pray you take this foolish soul of mine, though why you would want it is more than I can tell. God rest you, Mr. Howard. You're home again now.
Okay.
You need to state your curtain call real quick.